Good evening, everyone. Good evening. So again, as usual, we would start with a breathing exercise to quiet our mind, watching the breath for a few moments, watching the breath mindfully. Then we can try to generate good intention by thinking, by us coming here together with good intentions to listen, to reflect, to contemplate, to engage in discussions. May all of this. May we be able to generate loving kindness, compassion, both to the mind. And may it be cause and conditions to engage in the practice of the bodhisattvas, the six perfections. And through the practice of six perfections, may we be able to obtain fully enlightened state, the Buddhahood. So one can be greatest help and benefit each and every sentient being. And may we always be beneficial and helpful while we are on the path. And may we never hurt and harm others intentionally or unintentionally. Okay. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create to listen to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye chodang soge chonam la changchu bado dane Dagi Geshe Give Sonam, Yola Tenje Sangye Doba, Sangye Chedan Soke Sonam, Chanju Bada, Dagi Geshe Give Sonam, Yola Tenje Sangye Doba. So I think throughout this year, we have been going through the stages of the path by following particular verses from the Lama Chopa. And we are in sections under the practice of higher scope. And within that, there is cultivating the bodhicitta mind, and then having cultivated the bodhicitta mind, then engage in the practice of six perfections. And within the six perfections, we discuss about the first four paramita of perfection, the perfection of generosity, moral discipline, patience, and joyous effort in the virtues. And today we come to the verse where we discuss about the fifth, the paramita of the perfection of karma abiding or meditative concentrations. So maybe before we go in, and maybe we can read again, in LC 105, in terms of that Lama Chopa, verse number 105. Here is having abandoned the faults of singing, excitement, and distractions. So in order to cultivate the perfection of karma abiding or meditative concentration, there are two main faults or obstacles, okay? Internal obstacles to develop shamatha, karma abiding meditative concentration. One of them is whether there are different translations, here it says singing, sometimes it might be translated as laxity, sometimes dullness, sometimes inattentive, so different translations have used different but that is one of the obstacles, because to develop a shamatha, you need to have clarity in your mind, and that kind of singing or dullness or laxity is obstacle to have that clarity, and clarity and alertness or intensity. So it is obstacle for that. And then other obstacle is, excitement and distractions, And so with the excitement and distraction, then your mind is unable to focus, your mind is unable to be stable and focus on the objects. So those two are the main internal obstacles or interference to develop that. So that is why it's having abandoned the fault of singing, excitement, and distractions. I seek your blessings to complete the perfection of firm contemplations. Through the samadhi of single-pointed placement, upon the nature of reality of all phenomena, their lack of true existence. So here, the object of the meditations or shamatha is the ultimate nature of your mind. That is the emptiness of your ultimate emptiness of your mind, But I think the object here discussed is kind of for quite more advanced practitioner, because before you can really place, first you have to find the objects, and to be able to find the object, you have to have the realization of non-truly existence, the emptiness. So, but of course, but basically, it's about cultivating, generating the shamatha or samadhi, meditative concentrations. So we talk a little bit about that. First, in order to develop the karma abiding or shamatha or samadhi, the object of the meditations can be any objects, depending on individuals, It can be image, using the image of the Buddha, for example. Or you can use any other image, even using the image of flower is also okay, or any other image, Or using, such as the bread as an object of your meditations to develop shamatha. Or, using the objects, your mind, nature of your mind, whether it's a conventional nature of mind or whether it's ultimate nature of the mind. But using those, whether it's a conventional nature of mind or ultimate nature of mind, might not be so easy for a lot of people, for the beginner. So for the beginner, if you want to use any object as an object for your contemplations, for your meditative concentrations, then, one of the very more common objects is, like bread that, you see in many traditions. Many traditions, they use the bread. And especially in Vajrayana traditions, then there is using the Buddha's image is one of the, as an object to develop your concentrations, meditative concentration. Using the Buddha's image is one, So again, it depends on individual, It depends on individual. Certain people struggles if they use image. Certain people easy to use image, and some people. So it depends on, the objects. It just to develop the single body concentration. The object can be any of them. There is a story of, a shepherd, and he wanted to develop meditative concentration, and he requested one of the teachers, masters, to give him instructions, teachings. So, he gave him the instructions to concentrate on the image, Buddha's image. But he struggled with that, He couldn't keep his concentrations because, and then, the masters, told him, oh, you use you can use the objects, because he was struggling. So as he was guiding, and you use the horns of the sheep, he was looking after the sheep. He's a shepherd, and you can use the horn of the sheep as your concentration for your meditations. He used it and he becomes successful with that, because that is something he has been seeing every day all his life. So when he imagined that, he can see very clearly, in his mind. And so the point is, you have to find an object, whatever object it is, where you can keep that object as an object for your meditations. And that is the main thing in terms of finding the objects, So that just give you one example of, how different object can be more helpful for different individuals, depending on individuals, Mm. So in terms of the objects, maybe we kind of, I think maybe we don't, I guess, not need to go so much. If we can to use the Buddha's image has a lot of advantage. And if you can use, there's much more advantage by using Buddha's image than a flower or horn sheep, oh, not horn sheep, the horn of the sheep. Okay. And so also there is a much more advantage of using Buddha's image than using a bread, if possible, But just to develop the material concentration, it doesn't matter what object you use. But if you use the Buddha's image, there are other advantage of that, and I don't want to go too much into that at the moment, so. And it is a slightly different from if you are using the image as your Buddha's image as a object of your meditation to develop concentrations, then the image has to be much more smaller. Normally we visualize, when you do the other practice, we visualize Buddhas in the space above you, and then so here you don't visualize above you, but you visualize just where when you can look with your eyes, straight to your eyes, so a little bit lower. And the image is not so big, small. Normally, when we image the Buddhas for different visualization, we sometimes visualize life-size big, but here you try to visualize smaller, like 4 inches small. And so like if you're looking your eyes where you can see straight, in front of you. So that is one, you try to cultivate you generate the image, and also you try to visualize it as a very heavy, so that it doesn't move, so then it always stay at the same place. So that is the one thing I wanted to in using that. And then and again, if you are using that as objects, then at the very beginning, you try to go details, of the Buddha's image, from the crown to the bottom, his head, colors, face, each of feature of the face, and then his body posture and all of that for little. And then when you're actually trying to develop material concentration, then you don't go in detail, you just keep the general image. And even it's not clear, general image is not clear, you just try to keep, you might, just, that is the point, First, you need to develop stability. You need to develop the stability, Clarity with the details will come later as you progress, So you don't have to put so much effort in that clarity at the very beginning. At the very beginning, the focus is to have that, stability, the stable, and so that is how you use. Yeah. Then you can visualize the Buddha's image, not like statues, but alive, and then light, Then again, it's helpful when you see that light. It helps for the not to be too dull, thinking, inattentive. The light helps to be more alert, So having that light. So with the lights radiating, so then that also helps in dealing with the dullness, the singing. So then, yeah, so you can have that image as your. So whatever object of meditation you use, then it is one important thing is not to change the object of meditations too much. If you change, then you cannot develop stability and focus. Until you develop, you try to keep same objects, whatever you use to begin with. Whether you are using the bread, whether you are using the Buddha's image, whether you are using any other image of your meditations, but trying to keep same object as the object of your meditation is important. If you keep too much changing, then you cannot develop that stability. Once you have developed the shamatha, then of course you can change any objects. Then it doesn't matter. Once you have achieved the shamatha, then it doesn't matter. But before you achieve that shamatha, and if you are trying to develop shamatha, then it is important to just keep one object of your meditations. Of course, for us, if we are trying to not to achieve shamatha at this point, but just to develop more better concentrations, better mindfulness, better focus, then of course that is another matter. But someone who is really seriously trying to cultivate shamatha, then in those cases, then that is important factors. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so there is one caution. Are the object of meditation we can use that don't rely so much on visual consciousness? What about object that can employ the others 5 consciousness? For example, object using ear or taste consciousness. To develop the shamatha or karma abiding is a mental state. Okay, mental consciousness. You develop shamatha through mental consciousness. You cannot develop mental shamatha through a sense consciousness. Okay, so because it's a mental state. So, but you can use, at the very beginning, you can use doses to help a little bit. For example, if you listen to sound, with your ear sound, and just trying to learn to be focused on that sound, So it is a one way of learning to be attentive and focus one particular object. So in that cases, listening to the sound and without any other thoughts, without any other thought, just simply listen to the sound, whatever sound it is. That can be helpful at the very beginning to direct, to help to be more focused, to have more attentive in that. So you can use that as well. But when you are actually trying to cultivate the shamatha itself, then it has to be, it is a mental state, it's not a sense consciousness. So therefore, you cannot develop shamatha by depending on sense consciousness, whereas you are listening is a sense consciousness. So yeah, but that can be a helpful tool at the very beginning for some people. It can be a helpful tools to begin for the beginning, And as I mentioned before, it doesn't have to be the image, It can be the breath. It can be your watching your own mind, nature of your own mind, and watching your own nature of mind. As I mentioned, whether you are watching the nature of your mind, the conventional nature of mind, that is just merely clarity and awareness. Just watching that, being focusing on that, just the nature of mind that is just aware and clarity or luminous, or you can meditate as it says here, the emptiness, the non-existence of that mind as the non-truly existence of that mind, and then holding that as an object for the meditations. So yeah, so that is with the objects. So we talk a little bit about the objects. And the next is the durations of the meditations, the practice, duration of the meditation practice. And the advice, the instruction advice, is at the very beginning, have short durations, but many sessions. Don't have too long sessions. So, because if you have too long, then your mind cannot concentrate. Your mind become either distracted or your mind become a little bit dull easily. So even you are meditating, the quality of meditation is not so good. The quality of meditation, even you might be meditating for a long time, but the quality is not so good. So you want to have a quality meditations. That means short, because for a short period, our mind can focus better without too much distractions and too much kind of inattentive or thinking. And so therefore, many sessions, short many sessions, and slowly, then we try to increase the durations little by little. And as we increase the durations of the time, then of course, there will be less, then you have less session as well, So for example, of course, at the very beginning, at the moment, if you are trying to do, half-hour meditations, 20 minutes of meditation to focus, to help your concentration and that meditation, then maybe instead of, you can break this 20 minutes or half hour into 3 meditations sessions, or even 6 of them for half hours and for 20 minutes, if you're doing 20 minutes, you can break into 4 sessions. It's like you meditate on 5 minutes. Then you can break for few seconds. Then again, you do 5 minutes. Again, then you can break, for a few seconds. When you break, it doesn't mean you have to leave the cushions, it just means you are not totally trying to focus there. You just be there and again, and then maybe, again, so you can break 20 minutes into 4 sessions, Of course, this is just a one suggestion, it doesn't mean it has to be, each session has to be 5 minutes, it could be more, it could be less, depending on the individual, how they can focus, how they are able to focus better, Of course, if you can meditate without much distractions, without much thinking for 10 minutes, then 10 minutes will be, you med for 10 minutes and then you have a short break, and then again you do 10 more minutes, and then, and slowly from 10, you make 15 minutes, And then if you are doing half-hour meditation, then there will be 2 sessions, 15 minutes. And slowly, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 30 minutes. And that is how you slowly increase as your qualities of meditation get better and better. But at the very beginning, because we like to be able to meditate for half hour, 1 hour, 2 hours to begin with, we are too impatient. Sometimes we can become too, what you call, impatient, what's the right word? Ambitious.
Ambitious.
Yeah, too ambitious, So very beginning, So the point is, do with a good meditation quality, short, and then slowly increase it. because from the very beginning, if we start meditation without good quality, distracted and inattentive and so on, all of that, then our mind get kind of used to it and it become habit. Then it is hard to really focus. So every time you sit, then your mind started to wander, because that has been a habit now. Your mind has been habit. So the moment you sit, the mind know what to do. Oh, is now time to get distracted. It's like you have trained certain paths, and then moment you say they know what to do. Once you put there, they know what to do. Or when you put the list, they know what to do. When you say something, similarly, your mind can become like that. And so from the very beginning, we need to develop good habit. That means that fully being there and very focused, and even it's short. And so that is how we can train our mind. And otherwise, the mind, there is saying, it says, some of the Tibetan officials, in the past, I think there's when they go in retreat, of course they go in retreat for spiritual reason. Okay, they take the retreat for spiritual reason, but some of them, when they are on retreat for spiritual reason, their mind become more active about thinking the politics. So it is, so, and so they say, normally they can't think of things, how to run things like that. And when they go to retreat, when they are trying to quiet their mind become more active, and they started to come with all these ideas, all ideas popping up, So then the retreat actually didn't serve the purpose that they were trying to retreat. It becomes something else, So that is how our mind can become. That is how the mind is such, And so that is why the advice is to do short, especially when you are trying to develop shamatha or material concentration, especially for that purpose. Of course, for every meditation, but especially for that, that is important part of it. Okay. So we talk about the object. We talk about the durations of the practice meditations. So that is more sessions and shorter session at the very beginning, and slowly increasing the durations. And then slowly, as you increase the duration, then of course it becomes less and less sessions, because it takes more and more time with each sessions. And so, so then the meditation itself, the practice meditation itself, in the materials, writings, how to develop the shamatha, he explained from the point of view of, overcoming the 8 interferences by applying the 5 antidotes, because meditations is as your meditation get better and better, with each stages, then there are different obstacles, different challenges, different internal challenges, obstacles, and then you need to overcome each of those internal challenges, the obstacles, and then you make the progress and jump to the next stages, and like that, and within those 8 interference or faults, the first faults are before the actual meditation itself. Sorry, I think I went around 5 faults and 8 antidotes. The first fault is a laziness, so that is before even you engage into meditation, due to laziness. We are not inspired to do practice. We are not inspired to meditate. That is one of the obstacles. Even when we have time, we become lazy and we don't have the inspirations or the enthusiasm to practice, to meditate, and because of the laziness. And to overcome the laziness, then, applying the first 4 antidotes. And then with each of others faults, then applying each antidotes, So, but I don't think maybe I will go through that today, because I think I'm going to keep it more short and, not go to details in each of them, yeah, if we go in detail each of them, then this can be quite many sessions, and also, yeah. So what I'm going to discuss more is, today is more of the stages of the meditations, that when actually we're in stages of meditation, then there are 9 stages of meditations, And so again, 9 stages is, different state of your mind or concentrations as you improve, as you progress, and each of those stages you overcome some of the obstacles to move from one stages to the next stages, So the first stages of meditations is, setting the mind or placing the mind, and that means at the very beginning, you find the objects, finding the object and then setting or placing your mind to that objects, the object we already discussed, and in first stages of meditations, you barely can stay on the objects. Your mind can barely stay on the objects, and so you keep seeking and finding and holding it. At the first stages of the meditation, you barely can hold on the objects, because at the very beginning, you lose, your mind gets distracted and you lose it very easily. So it's a constant seeking the objects and finding the objects and placing your mind to the objects. Again, you lose it. Again, seeking, finding, and placing. That is the first stages. That is, and it is mentioned when you do in that first stages. As you engage in that meditation at the very beginning, it might feel like there's too many thoughts. It feels like, you didn't have many thoughts before. Now it feels like you have too many thoughts. Before, when you are not meditating, you feel like you didn't have too many thoughts. Now you are starting to meditate and in these stages and trying to keep your mind on the object, and you begin to be more and more seeing too many thoughts, different kind of conceptuality, different thoughts arising. And sometimes people might think or feel, oh, by meditating, it didn't increase thought, but it didn't decrease the thought, but it increased the thought. One might feel like that. But it is said that it's not actually the thoughts or conceptuality or have increased, but it is just now you are being more aware. Now you are being more aware and recognizing them. It's a good sign. Other times we have so many thoughts and feelings, but we are not even aware of them. We don't recognize them. We are not even aware what is going in our mind. It's like, someone leaving, all garbage around garbage, and they are so busy with other things, they don't even see the garbage. It's not that garbage was not there. It is just that they were not aware of that. The garbage was always there, but they were so distracted with other things. They didn't notice that. And that is what is happening as we started to look inside with our mind focused on whatever objects, then, we are beginning to see all the different thoughts, conceptions that is in our mind, which we have all the time, but most time we are not aware of that. We didn't recognize that. Now we are starting to be aware of that, recognize that. That is why it feels like there is more thoughts at that time. But it's not a bad sign, it's a good sign. So that is and it is said, in this at this stages, the first stages, you have however long sessions you do, very short session you do, within that your mind is more distracted than that time that you are able to focus on the objects. You are able to focus on the object for 1 minute, your mind is distracted 2-3 minutes, so but that is okay because you are in the first stages, still you have just started that. So in this point, you are being more and more aware and recognizing all different thoughts that arises, and then in the second, it is called, continuous placement, continuous placement, so during this time, now you are able to increase your duration of the meditations, and to be able to focus on the objects a little bit more than before, still again, even this stage, still, your mind is still, kind of a lot of different thoughts arising, again and again, but you are able to keep your concentrations and your mind to the objects a little bit longer than so durations. You are able to keep it continuity to the objects more than before, without losing them. And at this time, you are able to overcome some of the disturbing, conceptions, some of the, thoughts, and there's less frequent thought arising than the first stages. There's still thought arising, but still it arises, but it arises less frequent and more slowly. Before it's like in some scripture they say like it's like in the first stage it's like the waterfall, so many coming, but now it's kind of small, slow. It comes, but it doesn't come so often as before, and even when it comes, it feels like is a little bit being exhausted in a way that is not as active as before. Those different thoughts, it arises, but it is not as so much kind of so active like before. It's as though someone who has been little exhausted, like a dog, before you take them to the walk, and when they have so much energy, they keep them running this like that. That's like first stages. Second stage is like you have taken them for long walk, and they are starting to feel a little bit exhausted, and then they are more quiet. They are still there, but they are less active. They are less running around, they are more quiet. But again, even in these stages, still, you get more distracted, then you are able to keep on concentrations to the objects, But of course, you have increase and get better than the previous first stages, Then third stage is resetting, or replacement or resetting the mind, So, there are different at these stages, and then you are able to keep your focus without distractions, without losing the objects of your meditations, for a while, Um, in some scriptures, they say 5 minutes. In different scriptures, different people, in some master, they say, durations of reciting Om Mani Padme Hum 1 malas. So I don't know what exactly or how long that may be. Some people can recite very quickly, some people can recite. So when you are trying to recite very slowly or quickly, but in some commentaries, so in some commentary they said 5-10 minutes, so you are able to do that, So at this time, still again, different thoughts, distractions comes, and still you are bothered by the distractions. Your mind, your meditation is still bothered by the distraction, but then you are able to find the object quickly, That's what resetting means, It's like you lose it and you come and find it quickly. In the first two stages, you cannot find the object quickly because you get distracted for a while. But here, even you get distracted and even you lose the objects, but you are able to find it quickly, and then to be able to, because now your mindfulness, your mindfulness started to improve, as your mindfulness started to improve, then you are able to be aware and recognize quickly the moment your mind get distracted or lose the objects. The moment your mind get distracted, you are able to be aware quickly and quickly bring back to the objects, so without getting lost for a long time or long duration, or without being distracted for long times, but quickly to be able to set very quickly into that. And then, close placement or close placement, So from in these stages, then your mindfulness, the practice of your mindfulness become much strong, and through that strong mindfulness, then, it is said from these stages, you don't lose the object anymore. Until the third stages, you could lose the object of your meditations. First two, you lose even for a long time. Third stages, even when you lose, you are able to find it very quickly, because of your awareness and mindfulness. And these fourth stages, then, from here on, you don't lose the object of your meditations. So once you reach this point, the fourth stages, so from here, then you don't lose the objects of your meditations, yeah. Because one has cultivated the intense mindfulness and the mindfulness has improved a lot, so you can keep your objects without losing them throughout your sessions, throughout your sessions of the meditations, throughout, how long ever, your session is, throughout that sessions without losing it. But the problem that happens is then your mind started to withdraw a little bit because of strong mindfulness, and your mind started to withdraw a little bit, before distraction, your mind goes outward, Now with the mindfulness, you have able to kind of stop from going out and distracted. But then it started to withdraw, your mind started to withdraw. And when your mind started to withdraw, then the next problem that arises is then there can be a dullness or sinking, inattentive. There's that danger too, So, and that is why one of the great Indian masters says it's hard to find shamatha because you have to balance these two things, If you withdraw too much, then your mind gets sinking and dullness. If you uplift too much, then you get distracted and excited. And so finding the right balance is the key to the key to the success of meditative concentrations, and that is where so when there is danger of sinking or dullness, now you have to put more strong on discriminating alertness or vigilant. Okay, so that has to be more stronger now. In the third and fourth stages, there is more stronger mindfulness. And because of strong mindfulness, then you are able to stop from distractions, and so you are able to, and through that, then there is, because of that, your mind being withdrawn, then there is now the danger of that. So in order not to fall into the sinking and dullness, you have to be very watchful, very alert. And the introspection mind, or discriminating alertness, or vigilant, whatever, different translations, whatever you call, that helps to be more alert and more watchful, And with that much more alertness, that much more stronger alertness, stronger watchfulness, then it helps the mind from going to the sinking and dullness. Then that is the fifth. That's the yeah. So then in the fifth stages, control or discipline, mind. So again, different translation, some translation control, some translation discipline, the stages of that, in that, So as I mentioned, your mind has to be more heightening and more alert, so that you don't fall into those subtle level of distractions and sinking, Now you have less danger of gross level of distraction, but still there is a danger of your mind is not free from the subtle distractions. Neither you are free from the sinking or the dullness, So through that, then you try to generate a stronger power of introspections, as I mentioned, from the fifth you develop more stronger introspection, alertness, and that stronger alertness and introspection, then it helps to develop the quality of your meditations, So your meditation become better, more better. Mm. So it is also said our mind become more sharp and more focused than before now, at these stages, Mm. So now, the gross level of distraction and laxity, we kind of in the stages like before 4, is starting to kind of overcome them, but still we have the subtle one, subtle. So that is why we have to be more mindful, more watchful, watching for that. So you have to watch for that, because when there is no growth level, then again, if you not watchful, you might not be able to be aware of that, because growths are more obvious to recognize. The subtle are more difficult to recognize. The subtle distraction and subtle thinkings are more difficult to recognize. And so therefore you have to be much more watchful and much more alert to be able to recognize and to be aware of them. And then when you recognize and be aware of them, when they arise, then you can apply whatever antidote to deal with them, whatever different technique, practice that you can to overcome them. Then 6-1 in the pacified mind, So then during this time, pacified mind, your practice of alertness or introspection has now, you have developed intense and you have completed the power of that. And because of that, now you kind of and because of the qualities of your meditations, hardly even the subtle arises, it still arises, but not so much, now even the subtle thinking and the distractions hardly arises, it is still there, but then it's not as active and strong as before, And so at this time, now you have perfected the power of mindfulness and introspections. So then at the stage seven stages, complete pacifications, So through the power of that introspections and the mindfulness that you have completed by the stage of 4 and introspection by end of the 6, now you have developed these 2 powerful tools. These are the main 2 powerful tools that we need to develop: mindfulness and introspections or alertness, in order to develop shamatha, karma abiding. And so now you have developed, and through that, then by the complete pacification, then your meditations cannot be disturbed and upset by the singing and distractions. By singing and distractions, you don't have to put so much effort for you haven't totally abandoned it now, but it is not a big danger anymore. In some of the commentary, they say, it's like you have subdued your enemy, that you have make them powerless. So even that they are still there, they don't pose any danger to you, because now they have become powerless. You have taken all their weapons that they can pose danger to you. So they are kind of, they are still there. You haven't totally abandoned them, but they are not danger, and they cannot upset and disturb you with the thinking and that, and you, through the power of the effort that we do that. And then the edge, single pointedness. And then at the edge stages, then there is no more singing and distractions, singing and distractions. But at the same time, at the very beginning of your session of the meditation, you have to put a little bit effort. When you start the meditation, you have to put a little bit effort at the very beginning. But once you put little effort at the very beginning, then you don't need to put much effort, and your meditations, throughout your whole sessions, without any danger, without being any disturbed by the singing and singing and distractions. It doesn't disturb you. It's no more there. It's no more there. Now it is not obstacles. Now it's not interference. But you have to put a little bit effort at the very beginning of the sessions. So you to focus your mind, to direct your mind to the objects. And then the ninth, equanimity or balance, different translations, that's when you find a balanced mind or equanimity. When you reach that, then you don't even need any effort to begin with. From the very beginning, you engage in the meditations, effortlessly, you will be able to focus to the objects. Effortlessly, you are able to concentrate, be attentive, and focus to the objects, throughout your sessions, as long as you want the sessions, So those are the 9 stages of meditations, so that's how one, and after the 9 stages, then you cultivate, after the 9 stages, then, when you have that kind of quality meditations at the time of 9 stages, quality meditations without any interference of distraction and singing, even the most subtle of that. And when you are able to meditate effortlessly, then you can remain in meditation for a long time, as much as you want, and through that, then, your mind become flexible, and you have the plaincy, your mind become much more flexible than before, plaincy, and to be able to direct whatever you want to direct, and through the plaincy of the mind, then you started to also have a plaincy of your body. Your body also become more light, more flexible, less stiff. At the moment, our body becomes stiff. So then your body started to feel more relaxed, more light and less stiff. And with that, then, there is the wind energy that pervades, the wind energy that comes from that light and that flexibility and that, relaxations. And then that wind pervades in all your bodies, and that give you a kind of, blissful feelings, blissful sense, physical, blissful, bodily, blissful experience or feelings. And that lead to a, mental blissful feeling as well. And once you have that mental blissful feelings, when you generate that blissful, then that is when one cultivate. After that, then one cultivate the karma abiding, the shamatha. And then once you have that karma abiding shamatha, then we use that karma abiding shamatha to develop the wisdom in other practice. So then when you use that meditative concentration for whatever practice, then your practice becomes much more powerful, because when you practice, then you do without any distractions. And not only not distraction, but your mind being very kind of alert as well, and clear, with a clear mind. So I think maybe that is all I wanted to discuss today. Um, so yeah, so yeah, we can do the dedications. May all beings everywhere plagued by the suffering of body and the mind obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtues of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depressions. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose. May the naked find clothing, hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drink. May the poor find wealth, those who with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvest. May all medicine be effective and wholesome prayer bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be free from their ailments. Whatever disease they are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightening cease to be afraid, those bound be free. May the powerless find power, and may people think of vindicating each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Good night. Thank you.